record this real quick. Hopefully you hear it. It was just a thought that I had when I left my house, and I got a look from somebody that I've never seen before. Like just some random person driving in another car by me. It was a look of death and like just disgusting, utter. People who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Point being is that I never like feel that on any kind of regular basis for one person. Like somebody would have to do something crazy to me in order for me to develop that kind of hatred, like that people feel naturally in their everyday stasis. Like when they wake up in the morning, they have to wear that suit of hate. And man, I hope this fucking flip phone is picking up the sound. I'll just talk louder. I don't really want to talk too loud. Point being is that I was thinking, like, the mental health disease, like the leading mental health cancer, disease, parasite, problem in the entire world of psychology, the psychology of the world, the people of the world, has this disease. It's like having a cold or a flu. White supremacy, racism, and so on, and so everything that stems from that, eugenics, gentrification, redlining, the Homestead Act, the head right system, like all of the programs that were developed to create a world that was beneficial to a certain group or type of people, and another, and counterproductive towards the other group of people. So it's not even a level field. It's totally, yeah. So, point being, what's this saying? The health disorder that is. Think of it as an individual. Like, I can't even think of the anger or hatred that somebody has to develop in order to say, you know, I hate these kinds of people. Like the hatred, the vitriol, the separation, the lack of even acknowledging your humanity. Like that doesn't even exist. You're an animal. You're less than an animal to a lot of these people. People think this is not, it's gone away or something because the television says so. You're severely mistaken. There are people that want you dead simply because of who you are as a being. And this is this belief system exists in a large group of people. They actually have rallies and meetings and uniforms and beliefs that are like long running, I mean, decades, centuries of these kinds of mentalities, however you want to see it, of utter hatred and disgust is installed into these babies. Like there's a baby being born right now to a white supremacist that's teaching that white supremacist baby now to develop a hatred for 9/10 of the people on the planet, basically. If you are thinking that you are supreme 9/10 of that you have to be. That's what's going on now. No, they don't. They're supreme human being. So that's what they're saying. The Western so-called civilization is saying that is true. That is that we are the supreme being. We are the supreme beings of the human condition or consciousness. And what makes that true is the ability to conquer, destroy, and just do everything that's utterly inhumane. That's their measuring stick of humanity. And they tell you this when they tell you that, technology is the evolutionary peak of humanity, and the Western civilization, your apartment, your cell phone that scratches your ass and bakes potatoes, and like everything else that is being pumped through this plastic material ass reality is a reflection of those belief systems. Those belief systems are the same belief systems. That's why I ask a lot of people, like, what are your goals? What the fuck are your goals? All this shit people are talking is, what are you really fucking trying to do? We're trying to wake people up or spread truth. And to what degree? Because if you don't acknowledge that, you're going to potentially walk people, because these people are putting themselves up as leaders. They're going to walk people and lead people right off a fucking cliff. Largely because they are unknowingly, it's the ignorance that is the ultimate evil. People with the best intentions, you know that phrase, people with the best intentions, whatever it is, fucking fuck up the most. Cause the most harm. And you even mention any kind of perspective that challenges the mainstream interpretation of what the fuck is going on here, and you're instantaneously labeled as crazy. So if questioning the authority that labels you as crazy is crazy, you're dealing with crazy. You're dealing with an intelligent, a destructive, intelligent crazy. Crazy is a very loose word. I just use it artistically. Like, I know people get all crazy about the word crazy. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Point being is that there's a fucking parasite, a disease that exists and is being avoided. Just think of this world as like a teenager, and you were responsible for preparing this fucking teenager to go out into the world. So you're responsible for how they perceive. Fuck. I didn't want to go into this right now. All right. So think of the system right now. The system is sick. It has a disease. It's poisoned. It's barely getting along, but it's telling you it's great, it's honest, or they're telling you that everything is good and everything is great, and it's perfect and we're the best. But they have this disease. That's what I said. Think of this is not a society or a system. This is a teenager, your child, like a 14, 15-year-old, really just entering high school. Like, you're responsible for preparing this individual to enter the world. Which world are you preparing them for? Because the mainstream world is a world that has nothing more than an adolescent perspective on reality, an adolescent, this technology worshipping. Look at everybody playing with their phones and video games and all that shit. These are fucking teenagers. Big-ass teenagers. big ass fucking teenagers. I'm not saying this that like I'm any separate from it, or I definitely went through that process. I'm not saying my head is definitely fucking hard. I've been through some fucked up shit because of my own hard head, because of shit, whatever was placed in my experience. I've been through that shit. So this is why I say you won't really take any responsibility for your brothers and sisters on the other side of the world if you don't personalize in a sense of observation, not to wear it like, oh, it's my responsibility. No, just to be like, all right, well, if I can read a book, then I can have a thought that can open up my heart and connect with, other things. Like you can read a story or ask yourself a story or research a story and connect with a perspective that you didn't know or a people that you didn't know. Well, this fucking parasite and these diseases that are running rampant right now within society are being ignored by the so-called authority figures. So who the fuck are you? Why are you listening? It's like listening to a teacher. Like, think of the system as a teacher, a corrupt, fucking abusive ass teacher. Like in a school, like in a public school. Like, think about this shit. It's point being is that being able to, just for observation purposes, like I said, personalize or humanize or add life to or emotion or some kind of alternate perspective that includes like a whole bunch of people. Like what? It's a language. You can see more, you can hear more, you can feel more, you can taste more, you can communicate more. And it's part of the language. It's not the language. It's part of the language that many of our ancestors, our indigenous ancestors, had already gotten to basically perfecting in so many ways, that they could do the unthinkable. We still don't know how a lot of the shit that was done by the ancient Egyptians, the ancient, like in Mexico and South America and Peru, and everything that's gone on along the world. This authority figure that is, like I said, has a disease, is not acknowledging the intelligence that existed before it came into power. You're dealing with a psychopathic teenager wearing a crown and it's just pushing buttons on a video game. Not in a simulation theory perspective, like some people are trying to sell out there, but in a realistic perspective. This adolescent consciousness that is this reality, which Joe Rogan just accepts when he talks about, like I said in the last video, where Joe Rogan is trash. Joe Rogan just accepts, we're destructive, we're materialistic beings, we're just descendants of the first monkey who decided to pick up that bone, like in 2001 Space Odyssey. That's what he's referring to, the fucking ultimate stoner movie that you can just like, oh, it's a download. It's like one of the deepest mind control programs out there. And what makes it even more slick is that they made the fucking movie illegal in 1968, and now it's all on the internet and it's everywhere. So now everybody thinks this shit is real. That's some gangster shit. So anyway, we're dealing with a teenage, an adolescent consciousness that has claimed to have authority enough to wear a crown and sit around in fucking gold chairs and shit and diamonds, steal diamonds and gold and land and fucking destroy the whole world, and then still sit up there gangster as fuck like I'm motherfucking Queen Elizabeth. What the fuck? You got something to say? Nobody got something to say? All right, that's what I thought. That's basically what colonial reality and this whole Western colonial so-called civilization That's basically what it's saying. It's the queen sitting around talking about, all right, was any of you bitch-ass motherfuckers got anything to say? Nobody? That's what I thought. Queen of England, bitch. Like, she's just one of them. She's not even at the tippy top. My point on what I address on this channel is that fuck the little fuck the little pawns and rooks and knights and fucking all that shit that's being moved around on the board, and start to figure out the infrastructure of the game itself. Start to figure out, or at least ask questions, or at least open up to a possibility that there could be more questions that this punk-ass university system and these punk-ass people like Joe Rogan and everybody else that's, you know, playing around with him and, you know, following him. He's literally a preacher. He's a preacher for the scientism religion. He's a preacher for the scientism religion. You say anything against Joe Rogan or, like, I've had some reactions to my dis everything for Joe Rogan that really mirror, you know, somebody, you know, figuring out that you're not, you know, a follower of their particular religion or something, and they've never met anybody like that. Like what? Oh, what's wrong with you? Like, oh, goodness gracious. And so, yeah. He has that effect on people, and when you really like when you read the book, like everything that he says is like words in a book. So when you read the book, and you've been reading the book, I've been reading that dude's book for like however many years. He came off Fear Factor, and that's when you're aware of somebody. A book is just an awareness of somebody, but it's more like you can picture it more when it's a fucking book. Like each thing that he says is on a page. And you read it, and then you can see a trend, like over time, and then changes in reality, and then or perspectives, and then things don't make sense, and then they start to make sense. The things that you thought made sense change because you change, and then you can revisit any of those books or those perspectives anytime and get a new perspective from their perspective at that time, because your ability to perceive in that moment is a new perspective, because you're a new person. You're a new, you have more to pull for. You have more to paint with. You have more of you existing now in the awareness of you, because you're more of you. You've had more practice if you've been paying attention, which is what the system wants you not to do. Don't pay attention to what is natural to you. Don't pay attention to what is natural to the system, to this natural cycle. Only pay attention to the reactionary systems of society as it is today in the Western mindset. That's the only thing that matters. This is why the indigenous people cannot be acknowledged in any kind of way. That story can't be told. Those treaties cannot be acknowledged. They can't even speak on them. They can't pay any of that shit. They can't even use their own fake money to do anything for that, even if they wanted to, because if they did, they would out themselves. They would blow the whole fucking lid off of the whole system. Like, if you're going to do that for this one treaty, well, why the fuck aren't you doing this for the rest of the thing? This is why the Western world is pretty much is like, sometimes it feels it's at like a stalemate, but it's not. It's actually moving in a direction that it never moved before, because we're doing something. Just like you wake up new every day, you do something new every day. Well, expand that out to like an entire nation of people, or an entire world of people, or an entire being, like a race, like a universal race of people, like consciousness. What that growth means each time you have another experience, like the difference between like having another dream and then like the first time you learned how to fly in a dream. That other dream before, you didn't know how to fly. You try, you're like, and then, but eventually you figured it out that it wasn't about like moving your arms to fucking fly. It was something that was like in your core that you can like. This is. I'm saying this because there's 3 people now who have confirmed it. Actually, 4, maybe 5, like 4 or 5 people now. 3 just recently, because there's been like 2 more in the past when I first brought this up. Something in your core, in your core, generates the balance or the centered point to actually fly energetically. That's what I've experienced, and that's what I share with a lot of other people, and they've at least acknowledged that something like that, or they've been like, oh yeah, that's exactly what happens. And then you start. It's easy to fly, but this is just like a dance. Like you're not flying with your arms. You're flying with your balance of being in tune with the dream. So you're just like, oh, okay, I know this world, and then you're just like flying. But before you got good at that and started to analyze what the fuck that is, you didn't know what to do. You weren't aware of that world that you could fly to into another dream and like all kinds of shit. So this disease that exists within the mainstream consciousness is hindering the actual expansion of consciousness, because the disease is acting just like a disease. It's like having a cold or a flu. You can't move. Your legs are all fucking weak. Your bones are weak. Your muscles are all like atrophied, and you got fluid all in your fucking lungs. You're sneezing. You can't breathe right. You're coughing. You got fucking stuffy sinuses. Like all this shit. This is what's happening to an actual. See, everything that I just said, now put that on to the system, the government, or, whatever, the people as a whole, the consciousness. It's fucking sick right now because a large group of people who are connected to this grid, and whatever it is, in some kind of way, are basically like the living dead, like the walking dead. And like I said in other videos, like you're going to have people that are going to be there for a long time, whatever that means, time. And then you're going to have people that are going to get on that path and start looking around and asking, well, like, what the fuck? Like, start asking questions and start, doing something that they've never done before, because they've only done what they've been told to do, including think. You've only done what you've been told to think. You've only thought what you've been told to think. And if you thought any different, you were called crazy or whatever. So, yeah, I just wanted to make this video. Now, hopefully the camera, I think it's still rolling. I just wanted to emphasize that, kind of like personalize where I'm coming from. This shit is so complex when it gets, shrunk down to like Trump. The fuck are you talking about? Trump? So, what's going to Trump? Yeah, like fucking swim through that muck of fucking swampy shit. Sometimes you come out on the other side. Sometimes you fucking suffocate, and then you gotta I get the fuck out of here. Sorry, I'm not sorry. I just need to move myself. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna end this video. I made my point. Yeah, I just wanted to personalize it, make that disease known for still the people who don't realize this, what's going on, and also to make the point of, even not, so-called white people have a reaction to this disease that has been installed into many generations of this society, this worldwide society. And there are reactions, there are things that happen psychologically, chemically, that happen that adjust your entire chemical makeup is fucking completely adjusted in many different ways. This is what why they're genetically modifying the foods and putting what are these, testosterone in almond milk and estrogen and what is that, soy milk. It's fucking ridiculous. Who the fuck thinks of this shit? This is some fucked up shit. This shit goes so deep. It gets into the very genes. I just watched this John Oliver thing right before I left. And he was talking about gene editing. And they're just not... He's talking about the guy in the video that he's talking shit about. He's talking about... He actually mentions that the guy in the video is very nonchalant about gene editing, without being completely aware that his very approach through that funky-ass little 20-minute video that is, from a comedic perspective, is... it's a million times worse than that one guy's nonchalant approach. He's actually installing that comedic nonchalant approach into the people. Millions of people. And their children. Millions of people and their children. Generations. This shit lasts forever. This shit lasts forever. When you actually listen to what's going on, that shit lasts forever. If you're just farting around and you're just oh, do, it might be in your code somewhere, but you don't have access to that shit until you figure out the ways to gain access to it. A lot of it's just by paying attention to what's going on and making deeper connections with what's natural, and reacting to this sickly, parasitic-ass, disease-infested consciousness that is the Western colonial so-called civilization. That is in no way beneficial to the actual growth that could be done. So we're at least 2 layers away from our happy medium, our actual basic running programs. We're two frequencies away from our Windows 98. We ain't even got there yet, because we have all these damn diseases that are just running throughout of our reality. Psychological, physical, and spiritual diseases. One of them, like I mentioned, and I'll end it on this, was that look that I got from somebody just a few minutes ago. That represents an entire, possibly millions of people, consciously millions of people have that supremacist mentality, while you have unconsciously and subconsciously you have fucking billions of people who are, or however many people, the majority of people who are affected by this disease. It's like secondhand smoke. You're still going to get cancer. People smoking that supremacy cigarette is just, they're just oh yeah, I'm just like this and fuck you nigger and all that other shit. They wake up in the morning, they walk out the house and they're like, fucking hate niggers, fucking hate them. And they're just walking around like that. They literally hate billions of people, millions and millions of people. You see what that does to your soul? What the fuck does that do to you? It's a fucking disease. So those people are smoking those cigarettes. A lot of those people smoking those Supremecy cigarettes are still sitting in the fucking White House right now. They're still running around in these schools trying to manipulate your kids to think a certain way. They're very slick. They're in the police department. They're all over the place. This is the kings and gods and kings consciousness. People convincing you that they're kings, that they have the authority to rule over you, make you pay taxes, make you fucking go to school, make you do all this ridiculous shit that is only about indoctrination. And then you have who they claim to be connected to, and those are their gods. The gods of this kingdom, or what, the forefathers, Christopher Columbus, Copernicus, fucking Galileo, like all these people who are, Einstein, these are their gods. Because the kings are ruling your ass right now. The gods are the ones that they get their whatever from, gods with a little g. Then you have the creator of the creators. There's some creators. You could be a creator, create a world, just as you could be a creator, create a universe. You could be creator within a world. Creators. It's an engagement and an experience. That's what a creator reality is. From, you can have an individual or a rock or a tree, or you can start taking care of shit and raising things and critically thinking about your reality. You're getting into just like from the physical kingdom, creating a baby with your king and your queen makes you into the god and the king. This is why the king household and all that shit is what's going on. They just took that what's natural and then like bastardized it, fucked it all up, and destroyed it. And sold it back to you, just a little off center, so you wouldn't really ask any questions if this was real or this was, rooted in something benevolent. It's hard to discern what's what when you don't even know how to spell the fucking word discernment or know what it even means. Or have the ability to question whether or not you know something. Or do you say some people are so within themselves they don't even they have no desire in any kind of way or any kind of natural inkling, even be outside of the word desire, but natural inkling to grow anything more in their psychological consciousness, their spiritual consciousness, or even their physical reality. They are just blobs of. That's when they say this is a side effect to this system telling you that you're just a cosmic turd, a stardust particle that was shat out of the Big Bang. And you're just evolved from monkey shit and asshole monkeys that were materialistic and started beating the fuck out of people with bones. What the fuck? You don't need to do anything else other than play video games every day if that's your fucking origin. Like Dr. John Henrik Clarke was saying, if your history starts at slavery, then everything else is progress. So when your history starts at a fucking space turd, a flip phone is fucking progress. So on that note, I'm going to end this flip phone video. And, yeah. Thank you for the support, everybody. I really do appreciate it. And I'll just keep making videos however, whenever. I don't even know if you can hear me right now. It's just still going. But anyway, thank you for the support. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.